Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Combo Breaker 99. I am back with another video. All right, y'all. So looks like a rematch is in the works. Not the rematch we want, but a rematch that certain fans want. Strawweight champion Rose Namajunas may be set to defend her title against the former champ Zhang Weili by the end of this year, according to a post from Ariel Wani's Substack. This is what he posted up on Substack, his like little blog that he does now. Speaking of fights, they want for the fourth quarter of 2021. They're currently leaning towards Rose Namajunas versus Zhang Weili 2 next. Very far from done though. Still can't help but feel for Carla Esparza, who should be fighting for the strawweight belt next. That's the fight, and it has an amazing backstory too. Remember, Esparza beat Namajunas in 2014 to win the inaugural 115-pound title. So yeah, man, the fight is just in talks. Nothing is solid, but it is being discussed. So we might be closing out the year with this fight, unfortunately. It is a fight, but everybody knows that Carla Esparza, she fought her way back up. That fight makes the most sense. Y'all know my thoughts on this. Do I want to see Zhang Weili get a redemption? Sure I do. Do I think she needs to go next? No. The rematch is not immediate. There's no need for it. Now, does Carla Esparza deserve her shot? 100%. I've already made some points that if Weili gets the rematch, that's going to be messed up on the UFC's part for, blocking Carla out once again, who fought her way back up. 5-fight winning streak. It's been 6-7 years now since she's fought for a title. So she should be the next legit contender, especially after the way Weili got knocked off. It should be the next best contender, right? Especially when Weili got finished in one round. You go to the next one that has the best record, which would be Carla Esparza. I could see what the UFC is doing here business-wise. There are several ways to look at it with Weili on why an immediate rematch could be done. The first is it's the biggest fight that the UFC could make at 115 if you're looking at it in a financial state. If you're looking at it in a financial perspective, this is the fight. The UFC invested a lot in the China market. With Zhang Weili, they were seeing Yan Zhana as the next big thing, but both of them lost. So they want to try to make it back. There's a big following behind Zhang Weili. So an immediate rematch, I could see it that way. I could see it. The fans are going to be wanting to see their favorite come back. And there's going to be a big following behind this, especially with the documentary that Zhang Weili has been doing. A lot of talk, she's still posting a lot on social media that she's been working. So I can see that. And again, another point that I've talked about with other people, Zhang Weili getting caught in the first round leaves a lot of questions. It leaves big questions to the fans. Some fans think it was luck. They think it was luck on Rose's part, and it won't play out the same. I don't think it was luck. Personally, I don't think it was luck. It was a technical mistake that she made. But we could say that there's still some unanswered questions, and we're not satisfied. And we're unsatisfied not seeing the fight play out longer to see her abilities. You've seen it before, especially if a fighter that's considered top level in skill and popularity, you want to see that fighter go in if they got stopped all of a sudden, you didn't get a chance to see their full potential. But to me, in my opinion, the rematch isn't something that has to be rushed. It's not like Weili will retire if she doesn't get the rematch, or it's not like she's on the verge of saying I'm quitting. So why not take the time to just heal mentally and work on defense and cover all bases, to face off against a top level fighter and a top level striker like Rose Namajunas. I know doing the rematch makes sense because Joanna got hers after losing to Rose. When she lost her first round knockout, she came back 6 months later. She fought Rose 6 months later, but she lost again. But they gave her title shot right away. So in my opinion, for Weili trying to make a quick return in similar fashion against a top level fighter like Rose, it could wind up the same way. But for Joanna, you can argue for her. She got her immediate rematch because she was a long title holder. She held her title for 5 title defenses. So it was only fair for her to get an immediate rematch after losing to Rose because she didn't have to fight her way back. She was already dominating the division. So it was fair that she go right back in and try to reclaim her throne. But for Zhang Weili, it's a little bit different because she was only coming in for her second title defense and she got dispatched in one round, and we still needed to see a lot from her. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like she was a long reigning champion, so she's not really entitled the same way that Joanna was. So I think that for Zhang Weili, this is a good time for her to kind of go back to the drawing board and maybe take another fight while, like I said, the next best contender, Carla Esparza, steps in and gets her fair shake. So why not just take a break? Just let Carla Esparza get that fight. And I'm talking not just to the fighter here in Zhang Weili, but to the UFC as well. Why don't they just look at it in that perspective? Stop thinking of money and just think of it as far as getting the next best fight out there. For Rose Namajunas, and at the same time giving a fair chance to a fighter like Carla Esparza. To me, giving her this fight, it holds more weight and backstory, and it has more questions on how it could go right now. These two have history. And I think Rose versus Carla is more of a hardcore fight, and it doesn't hold the same star power, but it is the best fight for significance and for the division to decide what happens next. If we're talking strictly MMA, if we're talking strictly MMA and we're not talking about other outside influences, about money, this is still a very, very good fight. Like I said, not the same type of star power, but still a very good fight that's still going to keep a lot of hardcore fans pleased and bring in a lot of fans as well, because they'll go back and do their history and say, oh, wow, Carla Esparza did that to Rose. Wow. But if Rose versus Weili gets made, of course, I'll tune in. In no way is that a bad fight. I mean, if Weili comes in 100% and has improved on her stand-up defense and get started early, we'll have a good fight. It's just that with all the talk lately of respecting Rose, or like overly respecting Rose and thinking so highly of her, it just makes me kind of question if she's ready to go back in there and knock off this crown holder, and take that throne back, especially when you're saying you got to think of the person that just dethroned you at such a high level, like a god. You know what I mean? I mean, we already talked about the term God and how she used it, but still, I just think for Weili, she has to accept what happened last time. And she does have to respect the skills of the champion, but that's where it should stop. You don't just go in there and just overly respect them. Just respect the skills, but just understand that they're still a person. I think that's still a piece of Zhang Weili. I think there's still a piece of Zhang Weili that overly respects her and needs to come to terms with that. That's why I think they should just hold off on the fight. But that's the latest news from Ariel Helwani. He said that they're in talks. Nothing is submitted yet. But if they make the fight, like I said, I'll check it out. I just hope that Zhang Weili is prepared for it. But they will be doing Carla Esparza dirty if they don't make this fight. So yeah, guys, that's all I got on this. So let me know your thoughts. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Subscribe. Peace.